All right, so essentially we're going to be finishing at 9 o'clock today. I think there's some prayer meeting, so everyone wants to go for that. So we'll try to talk about, so the idea today is to talk about the financial theory and then link it to Jainism. And in particularly for the financial theory, it's going to be derivatives. People have heard about stocks, shares, bonds, but what are derivatives? So I'll spend half the time to give an overview of what derivatives are. Call options, put options, and then link how are they valued in the finance theory. So there are some people who have got Nobel Prize of how to value these derivatives, and then link that whole theory to Jainism to see how that can be linked to Jainism. And the inspiration came through saying, so for example, if you look at any other disciplines or any other fields, if you look at the human body, so you'll have medical doctors who understand the body very well. And then you also have got the religious view. People talk about different chakras and how to look after from a religious point of view. If you look at the universe, you've got all the astronomers who talk all about the black holes and all about the planetary systems. And again, in the religious views, you've got graha, and people talk about how planets can influence us. So there's always that kind of science and religious kind of view from that discipline. Meditation, yoga. Again, people talk about, and this is kind of quite interesting, quite recently people talk about meditation, yoga, asanas, doing all these different exercises. And from a modern perspective, people are advocating that the chakras, which they call in the meditation world, is actually endocrine glands. So all the chakras which are in the scriptures are more aligned to where all the endocrine glands are, pituitary gland and all the glands within the body. So there's that kind of symbiosis between science and religion. Nature, obviously, you look at the environment, how you should look after the environment. And if you look at the Acharang Sutra, that talks about that just as we've got souls, then even there other animals, plants have also got souls. So we need to be looking after the animals and the plants. So you could see that even conservation, nature has been embedded within our scriptures right from the earliest days. So again, there is that kind of blend. Nutrition, science, balanced diet, 5 a day, all these things which are talked about science. Again, in religious, the Vedas, and they all talk about sattvic food, tamasic food. So it's all kind of, you can see the duality there. So then brings it to finance, that how can you bring finance and then linking to religion. So generally, most people know about shares, bonds. Derivatives is something quite recent. They came into being in the 1970s, and since then it's kicked off very, very much so. To the extent that many people call them like as toxic stuff, because many of the problems which occurred in the financial markets occurred because of derivatives. People have been speculating such immensely, and if you don't understand what you're doing, then they're known as some kind of toxic instruments. So we'll talk about what is an option, how do you value these options, and then lead to how it links to Jainism. Apparently, this is the formula which how you value the options. Okay, so now let's just take a little bit of a step back. Most people know that in finance, most people know about shares and bonds. Let's just say that SCVP is an organization and we want to expand. So SCVP wants to have many other centers, Nottingham, expand across UK and across Europe. And let's also assume that it's not a charitable organization. It's actually a profit-making organization, SCVP. So in order to then raise funds, then there are two options. One, SCVP can go out and say, let's borrow some money. So that means let's issue some bonds. And so we can go out to the market and say, we want to raise £1 million, £10 million, and please buy the bonds. And SCVP will then give you a return. So we'll say we'll give you 5%, 6%, 7%. I mean, this 7% olden days now, because the rates are so low, maybe 2%, 3%. And that interest rate depends on the credit riskiness of SCVP. How do people perceive? Is SCVP a very well-known name? Do people perceive it to be able to pay what the money it's raising? If it's credible, so then their ratings, AAA, AA, BBB. So if people have the confidence that SCVP is a very solid organization, it's got the backing of, say, for example, Virayatan, which is a parent body, so they are going to be backing, and if people perceive, then interest rates which you have to pay on that bond is going to be quite low. But if it's going to be a new entrant, people do not know about them, people doubt whether SCVP is going to expand, whether their strategy and business model is really going to work out, then you'll have to pay, and there are junk bonds also. So, you know, where the markets are paying 1 or 2%, SCVP can say, we'll pay you 8%, 10%. So that's how the bonds are generally, so that's bond. And what happens in that you as a bond, if you were to invest in a bonds, you do not have any management say. So you're not taking any kind of equity, you're not sharing into the SCVP organization. You're just an external person, you bought the bonds, and the duty of SCVP is to pay that money back to you. The other way is actually to issue shares. So if, for example, SCVP wants to raise finance, then they can say, we want to raise £1 million, and we have got a share, each share is worth, say, £10. So let's just say if you want to buy one share, you pay £10 and you bought one share of the company. So you are essentially kind of owning a very small part of SCVP. You are part ownership. And if people were to buy enough number of shares, then you've got someone with a substantial ownership. So if you were to buy 50% of those shares, then you've got 50% stake in SCVP. If SCVP does very well, you know, your share value will go up. So those are the general shares and bonds what most people know about. So what is derivatives? Where do derivatives come in? As the name implies, derivatives means that it's an instrument that derives its value from something else. So where do I get my value from? I have to get the value of whatever it is from something else. We'll talk about the car insurance premium as an example a bit later on. One of the reasons why derivatives have been very popular is like shares and bonds generally are known as linear products. So if you buy a share of £1, if that £1 share becomes £2, sorry. So if that £1 share becomes £2, you've doubled your money. And if that £1 share becomes 50 pence, you've lost half your money. So it's a linear product. For every pound it goes up, you've made money. Every pound goes down, you lost money. So it's a very linear product. Shares and bonds, same. Yeah, bonds, you know, you invest in the bond. If SCVP cannot pay your money back, you've essentially lost your money. So that's a bond. Whereas in a derivatives, it's a non-linear product. You pay something small. If your view was correct, you'll make a huge gain. But if your view was wrong, your bet was wrong, you just lose that small amount. You don't lose 1 for 1. So if you, example, if you spent 50 pence or £1 on a derivative, if your view was correct, you can make that £1 can become £5, £10, £50. But if your view was wrong, your bet was wrong, then you'll just lose £1. You'll not lose more than £1. You'll not lose. So that's it's a non-linear product. And then they say the primary purpose is to transfer risks. Most people in finance, the whole idea is what is risk appetite of everyone. So if you are in your 60s and 70s, you do not want to take a lot of risk. So you want to be a bit more conservative. Whereas if you are in your 20s, 30s, you have got lots more risk appetite. I mean, you could also have a 70-year-old having a very large risk appetite, but it all depends on personal preference. And therefore, with people having different appetites of risk, you can tailor-make of people choosing what they want to do. So essentially, that's where derivatives comes in. So here is a linear product, and that's non-linear product. So these are like generally shares are linear products, and derivatives are non-linear products. So derivatives are also called options. It's another synonym for derivatives. So by its way, so what does Oxford English Dictionary say? Option is a right or power of choosing. So you've got a choice. It's not mandatory. Option means you've got a choice. So now before we go into the financial options, let's give an example of where the options come in. Let's look at a car insurance premium. Everyone who has got a car needs to buy an insurance premium. Now, how do you value the insurance premium? How do you know whether it's going to be £300, £400, £500, or if for youngsters, if kids who've just recently got, it could be £2,000. So that premium, again, is like an option, because when you actually buy a car insurance premium, if there's going to be a small scratch on your car, are you going to claim? No. Technically, you could. You could go to the car and say, you know what, actually got a minor dent. I want to go to the garage. But then there are other disincentives, because then your no claim bonus will go and your insurance premium will go up the other time. But if your car is written off, then you want to exercise your claim. So again, an option, it's the car insurance premium is actually an option. You got the choice. You've paid for something, and whether you want to exercise, whether you want to claim or not, is your choice. It's not mandatory. how does the insurance premium is calculated for a car insurance premium? It depends on the value of your car. If your car is going to be a small car, nice Nissan Micra, then the value is going to be small. If it's going to be a Bentley, so that again going to dictate. For the same person, you are the same person, but the value of the premium is going to depend on the. So in the financial jargon, that's called spot value. What is the value of the underlying? Is it the sport car, the Mini? The value of the car, is it going to be low or is it going to be very high? So that depends. That's one criteria. Second thing is postcode. Postcode means if you're going to be staying in a very small village where there are very little traffic, then they've got statistics to say that there are not that many accidents which occur in this locality here, so the premium is going to be low. But if you're going to be staying in a city, then it's going to be a very, the premium is going to be much higher. So in financial jargon, that equates to volatility. So we'll come up to that volatility, how much volatility is in the market. So something which is not volatile is something which just goes up and down, very small. So that option value is going to be low, whereas something is very volatile, then the option value is going to be much higher. So that's where the postcode analogy comes in. The duration, if you wanted to buy a car insurance premium for 3 months, the premium is going to be low. If you wanted to buy the car insurance premium for 1 year, it's going to be higher. So that duration also depends. So again, in financial options, you have call options and put options for different maturities. Do you want to buy an option for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year? And greater the duration, greater the amount of premium you have to buy. So the financial options are very, very similar. If you understand this car insurance premium, you'll have a very good understanding of how financial options work. So again, it's an option. Let's look at other companies like oil companies or even medical research companies. What they want to do is they want to invest some money into some kind of future potentiality. Something's going to happen in the future. So the question is, if I'm an oil company, BP, do I want to then invest X amount of money with a view that oil might come out? And then again, that depends what's going to be the price of oil. Suppose I dig and I find oil. But if the price of oil has really dropped to $20 a barrel or $10 a barrel, is it worth all the effort for me to drill and get oil? And then it's really not going to be worth it. So financial companies have to actually make a judgment that if I'm going to be spending all this money, what's going to be the option? I'm going to be doing this. First of all, what's the probability of me finding oil after all this amount of expenditure? And then if I do find it, am I going to get my rewards back? But it's an option. No one's forcing them to do it. Again, with research and development, for all these companies which are spending R&D, they're hoping that you're going to get a very big payoff. It's a choice they have. Do I go into this option or that option or this option? Where do I put my capital or my resources into use? Into A, B, or C? And they have to make choice. They could have 10 different choices and they have to choose. And sometimes they have to do present value of money and all this kind of different mechanisms to find out where best to apply their capital. Education is again another option. Our kids are going to be spending all this time going to go into education with a view that they'll get a good job and they'll get some reward out of it. You could be a PhD and just sit at home and not do anything. Again, it's your choice. But by doing that, you've got the ability to. So the whole emphasis of this is that all this is options. We've got the choice. No one's forcing you to do it. It's not mandatory. And as the talk goes along, I'll also then try to show that how this theory says that religion is also an option. No one's forcing you to come on a Friday evening to come and listen to this lecture here or come regularly on this. It's a choice and option. You could be going to the pub, you could be doing so many other things on a Friday evening. So practicing spirituality again is an option. And we have to then judge, am I getting a lot of value out of this option, or can I utilize my time to do something else? Where can I have much better sort of fun? So now let's look at the financial options. In essence, financial options are of two kinds. So let's look at an instrument gives its holder the right but not the obligation to buy or sell something at a fixed price in the future. So that's a definition of a financial option. So let's just say that this is an item here. You have got the option to buy this into the future at a certain price. It's your choice to buy something. So if this was, like, say, for example, a stock of a company. So you have got the right to buy or sell something into the future at a fixed price. The right to buy is a call option and the right to sell is a put option. So let's just say what happens. If you buy a call option, you have to pay a deposit or a premium. So let's just take an example. SCVP, in fact, I'll show that on the next slide. I'll give you an example. So if you buy a call option, you pay a deposit or premium for the right to buy something in the future. Just understand that. So you're paying a premium, 50 pence, £1, whatever is the premium. And by investing that money, why are you investing that money? With an option that you're going to buy something, not buy something into the future at a certain price. So you've locked in. I'm going to pay you, so like car insurance premium, I'm going to pay say £500 for my car insurance premium. If my car is written off, I'm going to exercise my option with a view of getting my full value of my car back. So again, you've bought an option, and if you exercise that option, you want to. But if nothing happens, then you've lost your insurance premium. So in the financial option, the same thing. If I've got the right to buy something, if my view was wrong, then you're not going to exercise the option. You lost the premium. So you have to pay a premium. The seller of the option is forced to exercise to sell it to you at the agreed price. There's obviously a buyer and a seller. So if you have bought an option, you've got the right to exercise it. I've got the right to buy something. So the person who is sold the option to you, he has to give it to you at that price. So that's mandatory for the seller. So here you gain as the market rises. And again, I'll explain to you with an example. A put option is exactly opposite. And this is one of the key reasons why derivatives are very, very popular. Mostly when you buy shares and bonds, it's a linear market. You're always thinking of something going higher in price. If I buy a share at £1, you're always hoping for it to go from £1 to £2. You don't want to hope it to go to 50 pence. In a put option, if you actually buy a put option, it's exactly the opposite. You make money in a falling market. And that's just amazing. Can you just imagine that if something is going to be falling, you got a hunch, oh, the FTSE is very high right now, or this stock of Apple has gone very high. The only way it can now go is down. And if that's your hunch, you can buy a put option, and the further down it goes, the more money you make. So can you imagine making money in a falling market? And that's a put option. So if you buy a put option, you pay a deposit. So I've paid a deposit for the right to sell something in the future. So I've got the right to sell something in the future. And the seller of the put option is forced to buy it from you at a agreed price. So here you gain as the market drops, and this is known as shorting. So let's just take an example. The share of SCVP price today is £1 a share. So you can go into CBOE, which is a website which lists all the options. This is actually for the American companies. So you can go to CBOE and they'll have all these options here. And you can say that I want to buy SCVP share at £1.50 because you think that SCVP share is going to go to, say, £2. You think it's going to go high. So you can choose your strike. You want the right to buy SCVP share at £1.50 into the future, say 1 month's time. So today is 23rd February. In 1 month, you've got the right to buy SCVP share at £1.50 and you pay a premium of 10 pence. So what have you done? You've paid 10 pence to someone and you've got the right to buy SCVP share at £1.50. So for example, if SCVP share on 23rd of March is £2, you go to the person saying, I've got this option here. I can buy, and you only pay 10 pence for this option. You can go to the person saying, I can buy the SCVP share at £1.50. It's actually in the market at £2. But you can buy it at £1.50, and what has happened? You've straight away made a profit of. You can buy it at £1.50 and straight away the next second sell it at £2. You made a profit of 50 pence. Because you can buy it at £1.50, and in 1 month's time SCVP shares become £2. So by investing in 10 pence, what example have I given? If the share price rises to £2 by 23rd March, then you buy it at £1.50. You can immediately sell it at £2, and immediate profit is 50 pence. Not quite exactly, because you actually paid 10 pence premium. You paid 10 pence premium, so actually your actual profit is 40 pence. So can you imagine what have you done? By investing 10 pence, you made 40 pence. You've actually quadrupled 4 times your money. From just 10 pence investment, you made 40 pence just because and if you had actually bought the share at £1 in the market, and if it went down, if it went to £2, you only made £1. So you only made 100% profit, whereas by derivatives, you actually made it 4 times. And that's why that's known as highly leveraged products. For a very small outlay, you've actually magnified your gain. And what happens in 1 month's time if the share price of SCVP has dropped down to 50 pence? You've got the right to buy it £1.50. Why would you exercise it? Why would you tell someone, let me buy it at £1.50 from you when the price in the market is at 50 pence? You just tear up the contract and you've lost your 10 pence. So you would not exercise it if it goes below your strike price. So you're taking a view of the market for a very small premium. You're just paying 10 pence, and with this 10 pence, you're taking a view of the market. If your view was wrong, if you actually bought the share, then you actually had more risk. Because, for example, if you bought the share at one pound, and if you drop down to 50 pence, you actually lost 50 pence. In this, you only lost 10 pence. You took a view of the market, your view was wrong. It actually dropped down to 50 pence, and so therefore it's a non-linear payoff. The most you can lose is 10 pence. And how much you can gain? As much. If share price became £100, well, you got the right to buy it at £1.50, you make £99. By paying 10 pence, you made £99 if the share price of SCVP became £100. So your gain is unlimited, whereas your loss is limited to £10. So again, no linear payoff. Maximum you can lose is 10 pence, and how much you can gain just depends on how SCVP share price. Anything above £1.50 or £1.60 because you've paid 10 pence, anything about £1.60 is just gain for you. So that's a call option. So that is known as a call option. And so you can see if you bought the call option, there has to be a seller of the call option. So that seller has to sell it to you, because if the share price of SCVP became £2, he cannot go and sell it at £2. He's forced to sell it to you at £1.50 because he's entered into that contract. So the seller is forced, whereas for you it's a choice. Let's look at a put example. Share price of SCVP is £10 a share today. You think it's just too overpriced. £10 for SCVP share is just too much. So you think it's going to go down. Share price of SCVP has to go down. It's just too highly priced. So you can check the price of a put option, not a call option, but a put option at strike 7. So you think it's going to go much below. So you think it might go even to £5. So you check the price of a put option at strike 7. Maturity, sorry, not 16th February, but 23rd March. 1 month, and you say it's 10 pence. So you've paid 10 pence for the right to sell SCVP share at £7. You don't own the share. You have got nothing in your pocket. You got the right to sell the share of SCVP at £7 to someone in the market. So that's your contract. If the share price falls to £5, then what's going to happen? If the share price falls to £5, you can actually say, because you don't own the share of SCVP, you got nothing. You only bought a contract. If it drops down to £5, you go to the market, buy it at £5, and you tell to that person, I'm now going to sell it to you at 7 because we've entered into a contract. I have to sell it to you because this contract here is a legal contract, legally binding contract. So you actually made just £2. In a falling market, you made £2. So you buy it immediately at £5, sell it at 7, and your profit is not exactly £2 because you paid £10 premium, it's £1.90. So, and if the share price of SCVP becomes £20, your bet was wrong. Why would you want to then sell it at 7? So you not exercise it. So if the share price of SCVP keeps on going up, you just lose your premium because you can only make money because you entered to sell it at 7, and you only make money if you can buy it cheaper than 7. If the share price of SCVP becomes £2, that's great. You go out to the market, buy it at £2 and sell it at 7. You've made £5. So in a falling market, you are making money. So this is really fundamental of derivatives, call options and put options. Call options make money in a rising market, put options, you make money in a falling market. Now the real key question is, how do I determine what's this premium here? So that's really the crux of it. That how do I know, should I pay 10 pence for this contract? Because this maturity, it's not only 1 month. When you actually buy financial products, if you look at this website, you can choose different strike levels. Do I want to have £7, £6, £5? Do I want 1 month maturity, 3 months maturity, 6 months maturity, 1 year? So this maturity, the strikes, all these are variables which you can choose. And depending on what strike and what maturity, you'll pay different premium. That's going to be quoted. So the key essence is, how do I determine this premium price? Okay, so it's been an active market since the 1970s. It's a multi-trillion-dollar market. UK stocks UK derivatives are quoted on the Life. American options are quoted on this one's here, CBOE. This is an example of Microsoft. So this is when you actually go in the website, you will see that this is the price of Microsoft, $30, different July, August. So it gives you different maturities and different strike price. Do I want to, if it's $30, do I want to $25, $27, so you can get all these premiums here, bid, ask, and the mid price. So how do we know the price of this premium? There were two people, Scholes, Merton, and Black. They were Americans, and they got a Nobel Prize for actually determining how do you get this value of this option value. So in essence, what it is, you have to give some input. So just like a cook, you know, you got the ingredients here, you then do all this kind of concoction, and you get nice bhajias coming up. So same thing with yoga. People say sit quietly, meditate, do this and the other, so, and then say, you'll be transformed. So same thing with these financial guys. They came up with certain inputs. So let's look at these inputs. You put them into a formula, and output is you'll get the option price. And this is the formula they came up with. So this is what got them the Nobel Prize. And let's not look at all these details here. In essence, what it is, the price of a call option is equal to the spot price. So the price of a call option depends on the spot price. You have to understand, like if you have an insurance premium, if you have insurance premium, how do I know the insurance premium? Am I going to get a premium for a Mini or for a Bentley? So higher the value, higher is the option price. If my spot value of my share is going to be very high, my call option is going to be very high. If my price is going to be a penny, if my stock price is a penny, my call option is going to be much lower. So my call option depends on my spot price. Let's forget about this ND1. It depends on the strike price. If the price of SCVP is £1, do I want to have the right to buy it at £1.10, £1.20, £1.50? So that depends on what I want to do. So if I say the price of SCVP share is £1 and I want the right to buy it at £2, now what's the probability of SCVP going from £1 to £2? So low, the premium is going to be so small. But if you think the price of SCVP is £1 and you say, I want to enter into a contract to buy SCVP share in 1 month's time at £1.10, well, the chances of it hitting £1.10 is so high that this premium which you're going to pay is much higher. So the higher the strike price, the lower is going to be the premium. Quite close to where it is the spot price, then you're going to pay much higher premium. So that's your strike price. Interest rate, time is a very big important factor. So if you have to have a car insurance premium for a whole year, you're going to pay more. If you're just going to have it for 1 month, you'll pay less. So again, same with financial options. Greater the time period, more premium you're going to pay. Shorter the time period, less premium you're going to pay. So spot price, strike price, interest rate. Now this ND1 has got a very complex formula here. Again, as you can see, it's got some strike price, it's got this spot price, it's also got this volatility. Now that's going to be so fundamental, volatility. So can you imagine, let's say SCVP is £1 and you've got a strike price of £1.50 in say 1 month's time. So you want to buy SCVP in 1 month's time at £1.50. But SCVP is not a volatile stock. It always goes £1, £1.5, £1.10, 90 pence. It's not a very volatile stock. The chances of it hitting £1.50 is very low, so the premium is going to be low. But you could have some biotech companies or some technological companies, Facebook, Snapchat. Someone made a comment to Snapchat today and the price dropped by $1.5 billion. So if someone just made one comment, can you imagine how Snapchat or, for example, even you look at all these bitcoins, how the volatility has been on this. So something could be worth £1. So for example, SCVP is £1 now, it could become £5, and then something happens, it becomes 30 pence. So that volatility is so high that for it to hit your target, it's quite possible. So the premium is going to be much higher. So the volatility is a very important part of the options. And again, if you look at the car insurance premium, if you have two people exactly the same car, same 17-year-old, and if a 17-year-old was staying in London and someone was staying in a very remote place in Wales or Ireland, so the premium is going to be different. Same car, same age, same birth date, exactly the same car. You can see because the volatility in a small village is going to be low, and if you're staying in London, lots of traffic, lots of so you'll pay much more. So that's volatility. So essentially, we are coming now close to where it is. There are 5 things which these people said which affects the option price. In fact, that's on the next slide. The current price of the instrument, the spot price. Where is the price of SCVP right now? £1, £2, £3. Depending on what the spot price is, that's what's going to determine your option price. these are the value of the option depends on strike price. If the price is £1 now, and if I'm going to have a target of £10, the chances are so remote that your premium is going to be low. So if the strike price is very high, then it's got very little premium. If it's very close, then the premium is going to be quite high. So that depends on your premium. Your premium is going to depend on your spot price, your strike price. Time, as you all know, greater the time, greater is the option premium. Interest rate, we'll look at that later, and volatility. Greater the volatility, high is the option price. So the option price is now broken down into two things: time value and intrinsic value. It's again quite technical, and I think we don't have time now. But so let's link in that to where the spirituality comes in spirituality. Our value, the value for us to practice religion, depends on our current level of spirituality. You know what is and our age. The greater the time, the greater the option to practice religion. And I'll discuss that in a little bit more detail later on. So just to summarize, for a call option, higher the spot price, higher the option value. Yeah, everyone understands that? Yeah. Higher the strike price, lower the because if it's £1, my strike price is £10, the option premium is going to be very low. So higher the strike price, lower the option value. Greater the time, greater the option value. Greater the volatility, greater the option value. Higher the interest rate, higher the option value. And we'll look at the interest rate a bit later on. Okay. What are the advantages of options? Allows the buyer to be covered against an adverse event in the future. You can protect. So for example, let's say you actually own the share. You own the share of SCVP. And you want to protect yourself. So you actually physically hold the share and you say, you know what, if the price of SCVP goes down, I want to protect myself. I bought SCVP share at say £10 a share. If it goes down to 7, I'm fine. I can bear the loss of £3. But if it goes any lower than £7, that's a bit too much for me. So you can say, let me buy a put option at strike 7, so I want to protect myself. So you've paid a little bit of premium. So just like the way we pay premium for a house insurance premium, car insurance premium, you have to be a little bit out of pocket, but you're protecting yourself. So you can then say, and then what happens is, if the SCVP share price drops anything below £7, you protect it. So if it drops down to £2, you'll get the difference from 2 to 7, because if you chose the strike price of 7. So you've only in essence lost £3. You bought it at 10, you bought protection at 7, you paid some little bit of premium for it, but anything if it dropped down to £2, £1, you protect it. So people can use this as a kind of a protection. Or you can just be pure hedging, speculation. You don't own the share, you just want to speculate the markets. So there are two people who can use these things. One is pure speculators, or you can call gamblers. Other people are more saying like, I want to protect, so I want to. So one is hedge, so that's called as hedging, and one is speculation. The two main ways of how you can use these options. So let's see, how is Black-Scholes applied to Jainism? Does option have any value? So as I said at the beginning of the lecture, all of us have got an option. Time is an option for us. You know, why all of you, no one's compelling you to come here, so you all are exercising our option to do certain things, whether it's going to work, whether it's doing anything. Everything is an option. Now, what is the spot price? As I said, in the financial options, the spot price means higher the spot price, higher is the option value. For us, the spot price is our religion. So that's a spot price. If you look at it, in Uttaradhyan Sutra and many of the states, getting birth as a human is durlabh. They also give some examples of statistical examples that how rare is it to get a human birth. That if we believe in reincarnation, that we are being born into different classes of beings, to actually get birth of a human birth is very, very, very rare. So in that case, that first of all, so we are very, very lucky to actually have this pristine religion in front of us. So human birth is rare. Liberation is only possible through humans. So that's another thing we have to bear in mind. This is a spot value. That this is what we have right now in front of us. The sanskars, whatever our parents have given us, the society where we are quite lucky and fortunate to have this religion and able to follow it. The culture, the temples, the prayers, meditation, pilgrimage, humanitarian deeds, spiritual reading, knowledge, all these things is in front of us, and it's all options. So people can have different choices. Some people like pilgrimages, some people like meditation, some people like doing rituals, some people like just doing pure humanitarian deeds. you people can choose what they want, but it's something spiritual and something which you want to do to elevate your soul. So for this, we are quite lucky. So for us, the option to practice a religion is quite high. We've got a very pristine philosophy in front of us, and if we did nothing about it, then people will say, what a waste, what a waste of your human life. So therefore the option for us to practice, and us and even more so the children, that if you've got all these things and if you just lost it, because the general tendency is khai pine maja karo. That's the other philosophy. Who cares about all this religion and spirituality? Who cares? Just eat, enjoy, and be merry. And in that case, then there are no barriers. You can do anything, drink, drugs, whatever you do, frivolous lifestyle, and then you can say that it's a very immoral life. Again, if you look at it from a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that when we say the spot price is very lucky, because what Maslow said is that for people to actually think about all these higher ideas, first of all, the basic things which humans need are breathing, food, water, sleep, and excretion. These are the basic physiological needs. So for example, if people are in Somalia and in some of the very downtrodden Syria, these war-torn areas, if you cannot feed yourself, if you are in a very despicable conditions, how can you think about religion and spirituality? Just survival in itself is a struggle. So you cannot think about all these higher spiritual ideas if your basic physiological needs are not met. Then you need some safety about that. Security of body, employment, family, health, and property. So it's one step higher. So you have people in refugee camps who have got very step above. We have got a decent income, you've got family. So we can say a bit higher up in the hierarchy. Then go higher up, friendship, family, intimacy, that all is the next level up. Esteem. Then after all this, then you can have self-esteem. I've got self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect of others, and finally you can come up at this top level. After all these things are met, you can say, I'll practice morality, creativity. So if you think of us, most of us are at this level here, and we are quite fortunate. So we can actually then think about all these things here. If you were struggling in life, then you can say, I can't even think of all these things here. For me, life is a struggle. So we are in a way quite fortunate, and again, if you then lost this opportunity, then you can say you've lost a great option to practice this. So these are again some quotes from Uttarayan Sutra. As the fallow leaf of the tree falls to the ground, when its days are gone, even so is the life of man. Gautam, be careful all the while. So our life is just like a leaf on a tree. Any moment, like when the autumn comes, those leaves just going to drop down. So all of us are going to drop down one day, just like a leaf of a tree. So please be careful. That's what Mahavir is telling Gautam. Be vigilant all the time. As the dewdrop dangling on the top of a blade of a grass lasts but a short time, even so the life of man. Same analogy. The dewdrop on a blade of grass just going to drop any time. And once that drop goes down, that's it. So that's our life over, that option over. A life is so fleet, an existence so precarious, wipe off the sins you ever committed, Gautam. Be careful all the time. And lastly, a rare chance in the long course of time is human birth for a living being. Hard are the consequences of actions. Gautam, be careful all the while. All these are from Uttarayan Sutra. So it's saying you've got this pristine philosophy, please practice it. So I'm really linking that first part of the financial options theory of spot price. We've got the spot price for us is this religion in front of us. Do practice. Jainism is priceless, therefore the option value is very, very high indeed. Because if the spot price is very high, if for example, SCVP share was £10,000 a share, then the option price is going to be huge. So for us, we've got a religion in front of us whose value is priceless. So the option value is huge. Strike price. So we know, okay, we've got a spot price and the strike price. The strike price says that self-selection is to maximize the option value. So for us, my strike price depends on what I want to do. So let's just say a child is thinking of how to walk, and you tell a small child, for you need to run the marathon. Come on, start running the marathon. He'll say, a child? No need. So the target for the child saying, you're just learning how to even just take a few steps, and if you set the target to say you need to run the marathon, that value is going to be so low, it's almost pointless. Or like telling our kids right now who are in grade 4, 5 and saying, you need to do calculus, by the way. Say, well, I'm in just grade 4. If you set your target so high, what's the point of going to school? Saying, oh, you're in actually grade 4, you're doing standard 5, standard 6, and you need to be doing calculus and doing A-level biology. We'll say, what's the point of going to school? So if you set your targets too high, then the value of going to school or the value of exercising anything is going to be so low. So in spirituality, everyone has to, so the argument which I'm trying to make here is, if I told everyone, the best way to practice spirituality is fasting for 8 days, you need to be doing this, and other, you'll say, you know what, I really can't fast, I can't do this. The value for me to practice religion is zero. Because you've set a target so high to me that for me, there's just pointless practicing. Because you said, Roj, you have to do 5 samayaks, you have to do fasting for 8 days, you have to do this, you have to meditate for 7 hours. You see, if this is what religion is, then it's pointless. So the strike price has to be adjusted to where everyone is. It's an individualistic thing. So everyone has got different situations where you are, and depending on where you are, you set your target price. Okay, this is where I am right now, and for me, let me set my target to improve myself at this level here. Then the option value is going to be much greater, and this is going to be much different for everyone else. So it's not a blanket statement. This is what you need to do. It's a self-introspection. I read every day for this many hours. I think I should do maybe half an hour more. Or I do meditation, or I do this, I do that. And depending on where you are, you set your target price one level high. So some people could say, it's Pajushyan, I just can't fast because it's my physiology and I just can't fast. Well, you can do scriptural study. So if the idea was that everyone should be doing fasting on Pajushyan, they'll say, you know what, there's no point me doing this. You should be doing Ambel, you should be doing this. You customize your targets, your strike to where you are. And this is so important that Acharya Tulsi presented the Anuvrat and Praksha meditation on 1st March 1949. He said that you have Anuvrats, and this actually links into the topic we are doing right now, Vrats, that you are going to have some minor vows of what you can do. And if everyone, so like right now, when they're going on the Ahimsa path, they're going to all the villages and saying, look, let's not talk about all this Jain philosophy and Jain religion. Can everyone become addiction free? Can everyone stop smoking, stop this drinking habits? So let's do the basic stuff and let's get there. If people are already not doing that, then you set your targets a bit higher. So the Anuvrats are very, very important. For example, even in the Jain religion, when we discuss the Anuvrats, so if you can't fast, can you say that I can minimize the amount of food I eat? So Unodari. So there's so many different things one can do to say that I can practice my spirituality and become set my targets according to where I am. So this is very, very important. Each one of us sets our target price according to where we are and how we want to evolve spiritually. If you set a target too high, then you'll say that the value for me to do it is actually zero. So you need to say, so our targets are going to be different from our children's targets because they're at a different level. So the targets have to be customized according to where we all are. And therefore, then the value of practicing the religion is going to be much more. Time to maturity is, I think this is quite counterintuitive. When I was young, it was very common to hear people, religion kare karsu, buddha thasu kare karsu. When I become 50s and 60s, that's the time to practice religion. Right now, it's time to earn money, it's time to enjoy. So practicing spirituality is for the old age. In a way, it's quite counterintuitive. When you are in your 60s, 70s, 80s, health it's not against you. Who knows how much more life you have? So then, if you look at a car insurance premium, if you only had the insurance premium for 2 months or 3 months, the option value is very low. But if you had an option, if you wanted to get a car insurance premium for 1 year, the option value is quite high. So for us, the option to practice religion is actually higher the younger we are. So if you started at the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, you got a whole lifetime to practice your spirituality, as opposed to saying, you know what, I'll practice spirituality when I'm in my 60s, 70s, 80s. So it's actually counterintuitive that the sooner you start, the higher option value you have. Volatility. One can argue that maybe if you were staying 100 years or 200 years ago, there was no age of the internet. People were staying, most of us either came from Africa or from India, our heritage, staying in small villages, very little ways of getting corrupted. You didn't have any of these media or any of the problems which you're facing right now. You had monks, nuns around, you had family around, joint families. With all this kind of structure, the chances of you getting spoiled was much less. You didn't have that kind of many bad influences. So the volatility in those times was quite less. And you could argue that the option to practice spirituality was perhaps less, maybe 100 years ago, 100, 200 years ago. But look at the time right now, whether it's India, whether it's Western countries, all in the same place right now. Lot of volatility. People are youngsters. We have got the youngsters grappling with the social media, the internet, drugs, all these kind of social evils. You can have your kids could be quite good, but then they go outside in the world, the influences with their friends, everything else, so many bad influences. So if you're not firm in your own foot, you can easily get swayed one way or the other. So right now, the volatility is so high right now. So if the volatility is quite high, then the value of practicing spirituality is much, much greater. One can argue that, oh, if you're staying in a small village, doesn't matter if you don't go to the temple, there's very little chance for you to get spoiled. But for us and our children, it's even more so. That they are going to be exposed to the world, which is going to be so much more different than what we grew up with. So if the volatility is so high and going to be even higher as they're going to grow up, then the option to practice spirituality is huge and immense. So again, so that's it. Greater the volatility, greater the option value, as greater the chance of meeting or missing your targets. Interest rate. Very briefly, in the financial world, how does interest rates affect? If the interest rates are quite high, if the interest rates are very high, then what can happen is, you can say, rather than me buying SCVP share at £1 a share, let me not buy it, let me buy an option, which is going to cost me 10 pence, 20 pence, 30 pence. The remainder of the money, I can put it in the bank, and I'm getting 10% interest, for example, if the interest is 10%. So therefore the option value is actually going to be higher, because most people are not going to buy the shares, they're going to keep that money with them. So if you had £1 to invest, you'll say, I'd rather keep that 90 pence in my bank account, get 10% interest on that, and the 10 pence, I'll actually buy an option value. So higher the interest rates, higher this option value. If the interest is very low, you'll say, I'm not getting any money in my accounts right now, might as well go and buy the shares. So in a nutshell, higher the interest rates, higher is the option value in finance. So how am I giving the link to the Jain religion? So interest rates are not set by us. That's set by the Bank of England or the Fed. So that's outside our control. We had no control over our current birth, set by our past karmas. So we had no control of how we got here. That was set by our past karmas. But if the interest rates are quite high, then what happens is you keep money in the bank, huge demand for options, therefore high option value. If Jain philosophy has got high soul value, not monetary value, then make time in our busy lives, huge demand and thirst for Jain knowledge. So you can see huge demand for options, huge demand for thirst of Jain knowledge, therefore option to follow Jainism path has got huge value. So you can see how I'm trying to link interest rates high with the financial world, with how sort of using this interest rate, which is called as environment, and saying that we now need to make, if Jain value has got high value, we need to make a value, and it's got a the environment, we need to make value, and it's got very high option value. One can argue that if our philosophy was based on tit for tat, if someone does this for me, you need to give them 10 back. You can argue that the philosophy is not very moralistic, it's not very ethical, then the value to practice the religion is going to be quite low. But what I'm learning myself and what I'm teaching my children is exactly opposite of what a normal human person would do. Everything the opposite. Fight, kill, survival of the fittest. And if you just wanted to say, be aggressive, and then all this kind of, don't be peaceful, just look after your interest, forget about the rest of the world, maximize your benefits and your gains, forget about what happens to the world. With those kind of values, you can say that you're actually teaching some very counterintuitive things to your children, and so therefore it's got very little value. But on the contrary, our philosophy is got a lot of merits in it. Difference between financial options and Jain options. When you have financial options, you've got a buyer and a seller, and what happens is, if a buyer gains, then the seller loses. Most financial markets are known as a closed system. It's a zero-sum game, financial markets. So when you hear in the news, in the reports, the FTSE has gone up by this much, the FTSE has crashed by 500 points, 5 billion has been lost of the market value. For every loss, someone has made a gain. There is no money coming out of thin air. So one thing is very, very important to learn. No matter if the markets go up or go down, one man's gain is another's loss. And it's always a closed system. No one has made money out of, so you cannot have a system whereby saying that the FTSE has lost this much money. Well, if it's lost that much money, there's some other people who have gained that much money. It has to balance out. You cannot have a net effect of someone just losing or someone just gaining. Someone gains, other loses, someone gains. Whereas in religious options, it's gain. There's just no loss. You are both the buyer, because in a financial option, there is a buyer and a seller, there are two parties. In a spiritual option, you are both the buyer and the seller. So you don't need a market to trade. Trades are done with oneself. You set your own targets. Profit and loss accrues to yourself. You cannot derive a quantitative value. So just like Black-Scholes came up with this formula and came up with a quantitative value, obviously, when I say what is the option value of practicing Jainism, I cannot come with a tangible number, but it's a qualitative assessment. Okay, so given an overview of derivatives, financial derivatives, two types of options, call options, the right to buy a share into the future and the right to sell. As the market goes up, you gain. As the market goes down, you gain. So put options, you gain when the market goes down. Call options, you gain when the market goes up. Black-Scholes came up with these 5 principles, the 5: spot price, strike price, interest rate, volatility, and time. So these are the 5 parameters which are used in the financial markets to come up with an option value. 5 parameters: spot, strike price, volatility, interest rates, and time. And I'm using those 5 parameters to come up with this qualitative assessment for Jainism. So call option is analogous to sowing seeds, sending our children to SCVP school, nurturing ourselves, benefits beyond imagination. So when I say you invest this much amount, so like when you looked at the financial options, you paid a premium, 10 pence, and the gains were huge. So for example, if we spend a little bit of time for ourselves, for our children, the benefits are going to be huge, just for very little effort. So, you know, by just sending, for example, nurturing such values, it's not like I've spent 1 hour in SCVP or children come here on a Friday evening, but the benefits could be manifold. And again, this is actually said even in our Uvasakam Stotra. Chintamani kapapaya vabhaye Uvasakam Stotra. Chintamani kapapaya vabhaye pavantya vigyanam. What does Chintamani mean? Chintamani means that they are saying in the olden times, there could be a gemstone. And a gemstone, you could almost have a gemstone and have a wish. Oh, I wish this happens. And if you made a wish, that came true. So they are saying by practicing religion, the benefits you're going to get is even more than wish-fulfilling gemstone. And Kapapaya means Kalpa Vraksh. Kapapaya. So again, in those olden times, there is some kind of mythology saying that there could be wish-fulfilling trees. You go under a tree and you say, oh, I wish this, I wish I can get a car, I wish I can get this, I wish I can get this. Whatever you wish for, that tree will fulfill your wishes. So it's known as a Kalpa Vraksh. So those kind of trees. So you wish and you get it. And Uvasakam Stotra says that by bowing down to you, the benefits I'll get is much more than even a Chintamani and Kapapaya. So you can imagine that by following spirituality, the benefits you're going to get is even way beyond, oh, Managadi. Obviously, when we pray, we don't ask for these materials. It's for our spiritual development. So that's basically what it's saying. Put option is analogous to vows. And it quite ties in with the topic which we've been doing right now. Whenever we find ourselves in difficult or negative situations, we can uplift ourselves. So how can you make a gain in a falling market? But that's what a put option is. As the markets are going down, down, and down, I'm gaining. That's what a put option is. I make money in a falling market. So how can I make money in a falling market? When we find ourselves in difficult and negative situations, we can uplift ourselves, nurture ourselves, and we can gain in pain. So by having that positive attitude, difficulty just last week, Shamnijis were saying that there's a very big difference between dukh and vedna. So essentially what dukh means pain. So there's a difference between pain and suffering. So I'm getting a bodily pain, but the suffering is in my mind. Whether I'm suffering or not, that's a mental attitude. So what she was trying to say is distinguish between pain and suffering. So you could have a lot of pain and with a positive mindset saying, oh yeah, mara karma khapai che. It's actually good. Difficult situation ai che. It's actually quite. So by changing your mindset, you're using the difficult situation to actually purify yourself. So that's like a put option. Yeah, yep. The greater, the more the difficulties. And if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong, but I've heard that even in the Bhagavad Gita, it's saying that I forget if it's Sita or someone was saying that jaklu badhare dukh ave. It's actually good because so that means so the person was actually saying that because if that there's no need for me to remember God. Most of us remember God when you actually have difficulties. So if my life was a bed of roses, then there's actually no need for me to think about God. So I think in one of those Bhagavad Gitas or one of these Hindu stories, it was saying, the more dukh I have, it's actually better for me because then actually I'm remembering your name all the time. So that's kind of really like, more the pain, that the more I'm going to be thinking about spirituality. Some of the references where I got this from. The option is yours. All right, thank you, Jai Jinendra.